Welcome back to Today Assets Report, the channel that keeps you ahead of the curve when it comes to everything happening in crypto, finance, and the future of money. I'm glad you're here today because what we're covering is absolutely massive. We're talking about something that has been building for over a year now, and it is finally starting to come together in a way that even the skeptics cannot ignore. Stablecoins, the FX market, XRP, and the United States government's next big financial weapon. If you've been following this channel, you already know we've been tracking this story from the very beginning. But today, we're going deeper than ever before. And by the end of this video, I think you're going to walk away seeing the entire global financial picture in a completely different way. So stay with me, because this is one of those moments where everything we've been talking about starts to click into place all at once. Let's start with the report that Walter Bloomberg dropped recently, and if you haven't seen it yet, you need to stop what you're doing and pay attention. The headline alone should be enough to wake anyone up. Stablecoin growth could drive $1 trillion worth of treasury demand. $1 trillion. And that's not some wild, speculative number pulled out of thin air. Senator Tarter is on record predicting that the stablecoin market cap could rise from $34 billion today all the way up to $2 trillion by 2028. That's a 2-year window, people, 2 years. And when that happens, we're looking at somewhere between $800 billion and $1 trillion in new T-bill demand, because stablecoin issuers have to park their reserves somewhere. And that somewhere is U.S. Treasuries. This is not a coincidence. This is a strategy, and it is being executed at the highest levels of the United States government. Now, here's what makes this story so fascinating and honestly so important to understand. At the very same time that stablecoins are being positioned as this new engine for treasury demand, nations all around the world are actively dumping U.S. treasuries. We're talking about foreign governments losing confidence in the US dollar and the broader American financial system. They're moving into gold. They're moving into silver. They are looking for any alternative they can find to reduce their exposure to US debt. And on the surface, that sounds really alarming, right? Like, what does the US do if the rest of the world stops buying its debt? Well, the answer, it turns out, is stablecoins. The U.S. has found a way to replace foreign government demand for treasuries with digital dollar demand from stablecoin issuers. It is genius, and it is happening right now in real time. This is what I mean when I say the U.S. has weaponized the dollar for decades, and this is just the next evolution of that strategy. Think about it. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency since Bretton Woods. It has been used as a geopolitical tool, a sanctions weapon, a lever of global economic power. And now, as the world moves toward digital finance, the U.S. is making sure the dollar moves right along with it. Except now, it's in the form of USD-backed stablecoins. Chad Steingra put it perfectly when he said stablecoins will start hoarding U.S. treasuries at a newer-than-ever-before pace. And that's RUSD he's talking about. The digital equivalent of the dollar, designed to keep American financial dominance alive and well in the digital age. If you think that's just a crypto thing, you are seriously underestimating what's happening here. Now, I've talked about Tether many times on this channel, and yes, Tether is one of the largest holders of U.S. treasuries among stablecoin issuers. That's a fact. But here's what I really want you to think about going forward. The dominant players in the stablecoin space going forward are not going to be the ones with the longest history. They're going to be the ones with the strongest compliance and regulatory frameworks. And that is exactly where Ripple's RUSD starts to separate itself from the pack. Ripple is fully compliant. Ripple is fully regulated. Ripple is fully transparent. And in a world where governments and institutions are scrutinizing every single stablecoin issuer, that compliance advantage is not a small thing. It is everything. It is what gives RUSD the green light when others are going to face serious regulatory hurdles. And here's the part that a lot of people are sleeping on. This isn't just a US dollar story. Every major nation on earth is going to look at what the United States is doing with stablecoins, and they are going to do the exact same thing with their own currency. We're already starting to see it happen. Euro-backed stablecoins are growing. Yes, I know the numbers look small right now. We're talking about $78 million in euro-backed stablecoins compared to $24 million at the start of 2025. But do you remember where US dollar stablecoins started? In 2017, the entire USD stablecoin market was $30 million. By 2020, it was over $4 billion. All it takes is one catalyst, one big institutional wave, and that number explodes. With MyCA now officially in effect across Europe, that catalyst for euro-backed stablecoins has arrived. MyCA, the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, is a game changer for Europe, and I don't think enough people in the crypto space are giving it the credit it deserves. Because what MyCA does is it creates the regulatory clarity that major institutional players need before they'll touch euro-backed stablecoins with any real capital. And now that MyCA is live, you're going to start seeing banks, payment processors, and financial institutions across Europe launching their own euro stablecoin products. That institutional wave is coming, and when it does, the euro stablecoin market is going to go from a rounding error to a major force in global digital finance almost overnight. We've seen this movie before with USD stablecoins, and we know how it ends. Now let's zoom out even further, because this is where it gets really exciting. We've been talking for months on this channel about the foreign exchange market moving on-chain. The FX market, $8 trillion per day. 8 trillion every single day. That is the largest financial market on the planet, and right now it runs on pre-funding, fragmented cutoff times, and delayed settlements. It is an outdated, inefficient, broken system that has survived this long simply because there was no better alternative. But that alternative now exists, and the person building it is Ripple. Mike Higgins, who works in business development at Ripple Prime, formerly known as Hidden Road, said it himself. He said 2026 will be a tipping point for atomic settlement and intraday collateral mobility across FX and digital assets. A tipping point. Those are serious words from someone inside one of the most important financial infrastructure companies in the world. Think about what atomic settlement actually means for the FX market. Right now, when you have a foreign exchange transaction, the settlement time is T plus 2 days by convention. And with holidays and weekends, it can stretch to T plus 5 calendar days. 5 days. And during that entire window, you have settlement risk, credit exposure, and liquidity risk. About 1/3 of all deliverable FX turnover is subject to settlement risk on any given day. That is an enormous amount of capital floating in limbo, exposed to counterparty risk just because the traditional system cannot settle transactions faster. But on-chain FX with XRP as the bridge currency, that settlement happens in seconds. No credit risk, no counterparty exposure, payment versus payment, by design, on the ledger. This is not theoretical anymore. This is being built right now. And here's something I want you to really sit with for a moment. Ripple has announced the permissioned DEX and permissioned domains on the XRP ledger. If you want regulated payments and FX on-chain, you need two things: compliance and deep liquidity. The permissioned DEX delivers both of those things to the XRP ledger without fragmenting capital across a bunch of separate private systems. Shared institutional liquidity, instant local payouts, protocol-level policy control. When I tell you that everything is now in place on the XRP ledger to function as a true global settlement layer, I mean that. This is not hype. This is infrastructure. And Ripple has been quietly building toward this moment for years, while most of the financial world was still debating whether crypto was even real. Let me put the FX opportunity into perspective for you, because I think the scale of it is something that even longtime crypto investors haven't fully wrapped their heads around. The UK alone accounts for over 38% of global FX turnover. 38% of $8 trillion a day flows through London. And Ripple is already a member of the Transatlantic Council, which is aligning US and UK financial policy at the institutional level. Ripple is also building toward pound-backed stablecoins with RLGBP already in existence. You see where this is going. Every major currency is going to have its own stablecoin. Every major financial center is going to start running FX on-chain. And Ripple, with XRP at the center, is positioning itself to be the liquidity backbone of all of it. One of the most powerful clips I've seen recently was from a Ripple Spaces event where a Ripple executive laid it out in plain language. They said historically you'd bring fiat into Ripple, it would get swapped for XRP or RUSD sent somewhere, and potentially swapped back to fiat on the other end. But as we see more fiat currency stablecoins coming to market, the ability to take a fiat currency, swap it for the equivalent stablecoin, do the FX on-chain, and then pay out in local currency, that makes the entire foreign exchange process 24/7 globally. And that is a revolution. Right now, even countries that have advanced domestic 24/7 payment rails still have FX desks that go dark on weekends. That's a massive gap. On-chain FX closes that gap permanently. And the liquidity piece of this cannot be overstated. Right now, liquidity in global FX is fragmented across hundreds of different foreign exchange desks and trading platforms around the world. When you bring that liquidity on-chain, you're aggregating it into one place. And when liquidity is aggregated, it becomes deeper. When it's deeper, spreads tighten. When spreads tighten, rates get better for end customers. That is a real, tangible, meaningful benefit for businesses and individuals conducting cross-border transactions. This isn't just about efficiency for financial institutions. It's about real cost savings for real people. And XRP's role as a bridge currency, providing instant liquidity between any two currency pairs, becomes more valuable with every new stablecoin that comes to market. This is the flywheel, and it is starting to spin. I've been tracking stablecoin growth on the XRP ledger over at RW8XYZ, and while the numbers are still modest, we have about 7 stablecoins currently live on the ledger. The trend is undeniable. More and more stablecoin initiatives are being announced for the XRP ledger on a regular basis, and history has taught us that you can often catch a major announcement before it officially drops just by watching where the infrastructure is being built. The foundation is being laid right now, and when the announcements come, and they will come, a lot of people are going to be asking how they missed it. I'll tell you how they missed it. They weren't paying attention to the stablecoins. They were watching price charts instead of watching infrastructure development. Don't make that mistake. I said it back in May of 2025, and I'll say it again right now. We are in the middle of a financial revolution. The global financial system is moving on-chain, and stablecoins are the single most important piece of that puzzle. Payments are crypto's killer use case, always have been, and the FX market, the biggest payments market on the planet, is the ultimate prize. Ripple is at the forefront of this. XRP is at the center of it. And everything, the compliance framework, the permissioned DEX, the stablecoin partnerships, the institutional relationships, the transatlantic connections, all of it points to one conclusion. XRP was built for this moment. Not only for this, but absolutely for this. The dots are all connecting, and if you've been patient and you've been watching, you can see exactly where this is headed. Thanks for watching Today Assets Report. Drop a like if this hit different, subscribe and turn on notifications, and we'll see you in the next one.